Either Half-Life 3 just dropped or this world is ending, cause I am finally making part 3 of the Card Trader series. It just took Konami putting in some halfway decent cards over the past, I don't know, 6 months or so, that I really cleaned this snake out, so we only got a few cards to talk about.
He's mine.
What?
Nightmare Mermaid is the most recent addition to the Card Trader and was limited to 2 upon its release. Link 1 Water Fiend, requiring 1 Nightmare monster except another copy of itself. If it's Link summoned, you can discard 1 card to special summon a Nightmare monster from your deck, and if it was co-linked when you did this, you get to draw a card. It's a hard once per turn. And then it has a passive effect that makes all monsters on the field lose 1000 attack and defense unless they are co-linked. The newly released Nightmare Corruptor Eebly really turns this into a scary card, but is also an answer for Eebly. Eebly prevents its controller from special summoning monsters except for Link monsters, and Eebly can special summon herself to your opponent's field if it's sent to the graveyard from the owner's control. And Eebly is a full material for Mermaid, meaning a single Eebly summon can turn into a Mermaid and a lock on your opponent's field. Mermaid is also capable of summoning another Eebly directly from the deck, though you couldn't summon 2 Eebly to your opponent's field since her effect is a hard once per turn. Regardless, this card can put your opponent in terrible situations, and it's exactly what Mech Knights are doing right now. And if you can't summon any Link monsters with Eebly on the field, it's more than likely that you're going to lose. So here's the best thing about Nightmare Mermaid. Run it in whatever deck, and if your opponent summons Eebly to your field in the happenstance that you end up in that matchup, you can link it away into your otherwise useless copy of Mermaid in your extra deck. Mermaid, ironically, is a hard counter to Eebly's Floodgate, and it's lowering attack on the field at the same time, which you could maybe use to your advantage, but it's affecting you too, so overall, this card that happens to be banned in other formats of the game is really good, but more situational than its friends. Doesn't have the right support to be broken yet. But here's your answer for the Eebly lock. Based on Mech Knight Indigo Eclipse makes me like this card a lot more aesthetically. It's just sitting there in the carcass of a pissed off frisbee. Finally made it down to Earth's orbit just to get teabagged by an alien. Scrap Iron Scarecrow is one of the funniest cards, if not the funniest card to be limited to 1. Ain't exactly winning that competition, if you know what I mean. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can target that monster, negate the attack, and set Scarecrow back down on the field. So the rule is, cards cannot be activated the turn they're set, and that does apply to Scarecrow's effect of setting itself again. So you can't activate it multiple times in one battle phase, but it's not a hard once per turn, and I imagine that's why Konami limited it to 1, so that way you couldn't have 3 Scarecrows set at the same time. But all things considered, it's a decent staple to get from the trader. But it would be a lot better without that limit 1 that it doesn't deserve. It's slow and vulnerable like all battle traps, maybe even more vulnerable since your opponent learns where this card is. But it definitely is one of the better purely free-to-play cards, or popper, meaning unboxed cards, so no gems required. But in the top 10 of cards I'd get from the Card Trader first, and I am biased as a Yusei stan, but this card will save your life, and it's oddly adorable to me. Rose Lover is a card I completely neglected in the first 2 parts of this series, and even though I have apologized in private, this is the only way to make it right. Rose Lover, be a good card. You can banish her from the graveyard to special summon a plant monster from your hand, and it becomes immune to trap effects. That's a nice little cherry on top that protects the monster while it's hitting the field. An excellent combo extender, she's a great card to dump in the graveyard and build combos off that, specifically in a deck like Rika or Sylvan's where this card really shines, being a big reason a deck like Rika's can facilitate rank 6s so well. But good plant support in general, not always meshing with what certain plant decks are trying to do, but I'd say Rose Lover is a future-proof card to an extent that can make its way into, well, if we're being honest, some meme decks. But again, a good card for the trader's standards, just needs to be taken with a grain of salt. Well, I hate to say it, but that'll do it for this part. I could talk about World Legacy Secret again, but I think I made my point on that card pretty clear in my Mech Knight deck profile, so check that out if you're curious. Though objectively speaking, it's probably the best card in the Card Trader right now outside of Kiteroid. I thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in my next video.